Hello everyone, my name is Rishikesh Nare. We welcome you to our special series, The Economic Times Cutting Chai Stories. It's an initiative by ETH. The key to Cutting Chai conversation is to have good discussion around your areas of early life, education to grooming, training, business sense, skill augmentation to work-life balance. And before we begin, let me set the context right. Cutting Chai is a series of candid conversations, so where we take you through the inspirational journeys of influential people. You all have seen these personalities in the corporate world, but we are taking them away from the boardroom drama to have some candid chat revolving around their personal life. And today we have with us Mr. Sarath Kummamuru, who is the CIO and CTO at Airtel Payments Bank. So, Mr. Sarath, thank you so much. Thanks for your time. Pleasure welcoming you.
No, my pleasure, ET team. My pleasure, Rishikesh. Nice to be talking to you guys.
Yeah. So as you know that, we'll directly jump to the point, this part where, we really want to, explore the journey of your life. And when I say journey, it always starts with your childhood, because whatever we are today, whatever things we do, the roots, they go back to your early life. And the attributes that we carry, the personality that we have today, and we give credit to our academics achievement, but that is not the story. What we feel is, it's more of your childhood, how you have constructed your brain into that particular system, and that's how what you are today. So just take us through your early life, maybe your schooling days, your childhood days, as a kid, how Sarath was. We would really like to know.
Sure, Rishikesh. I come from a middle-class family. My family consists of my father, mother, and two sons. I'm the elder one. I think I'm from Hyderabad. Basically, I studied in a relatively small school started by ex-military official. An amazing school which nurtured me, I believe. Sadly, it is no longer active, but it was called Trinity Public School. Very small school, but something that instilled a lot of work ethics and discipline within us. And it also is a place where I believe a lot of things that now I feel I have as strengths, I tend to see them being instilled during that period. And I think it was my parents who chose that, although it is a small school, the culture at the school and the fact that it is something that is close to home, so that they can spend more time with us rather than me spending time on buses and others, was a very key decision, I believe. And I enjoyed that school. I always believed that I was an average guy at school. And not only in school, across the board, I think I've been a good average guy. And it has always been a bunch of friends and a bunch of well-wishers who always pushed me over the envelope and gotten me to do stuff. I believe it is all because of their nudges, my parents, my friends, that I've achieved whatever I have achieved. I moved on to St. George's Grammar School, which is in Hyderabad, it is a relatively prestigious old school. It was a very good this thing in the sense that by the end of 10th class, I didn't really have enough exposure to say what I should do in the future. But to the extent that during 10th class, IIT used to be about, I don't know if you guys even know, some of you are very young. There used to be a Siddharth Basu program called Quiz Time. And for me, IIT was, there are people in some college called IIT and they are amazing quizzers and nothing more than that. And I think my +2 was, again, a place where a lot of friends around me really were doing whatever they thought was necessary for IITs and other things. And I just sort of tagged along. I never tried very seriously for IIT, but in whatever was necessary, I got into an engineering college. I studied at Osmania College of Engineering, Osmania University at Hyderabad. But over all of this, I think there are a few things that I thank my parents for this. They've brought me up as a very independent child, giving me a lot of freedom, giving me a lot of ability to take my own decisions. Never directing me on things, but always saying, what do you want to do, and do, as long as you're doing it, do it as a good, with the best of efforts and do a good job at it, right? But more importantly, it was about learning. And I think that's where my career starts, I would say. In I think it was the 6th class, during the holidays, my father bought me a ZX Spectrum. Some of you wouldn't even know that, but a ZX Spectrum was a computer. It's just a CPU it's a home computer, so called, which I would connect to a black and white small 14-inch TV, and it did not have much RAM. It was just 64 KB, and all stored these things on that was through a cassette drive. It was actually a cassette drive which I used to run my programs on and store them. And that is what kick-started my interest in computers, although with BASIC. My father was doing something in the computer department at APACB, State Electricity Board. And at that point, I learned a lot because of that. And I think that has been my kickstart, and that's where I started. So was there anything that is of interest that you wanted to do? I think it was always about computers, writing games, writing experimenting various things. Only other passion that I have is chess. I do play a decent amount of chess.
Oh, I mean, brilliant. I mean, so it's a very specific gift, if you're in 6th standard and if your father gives you that particular, I think you mentioned about some spectrum, right?
Yeah.
Your father knew that, my child is not going to be happy with a cricket bat or anything else. But yeah, if I give him this particular thing, definitely he will, take it positively and he's going to work on it. So your priorities were set. And I think it's more of your reflection that comes out with everybody, and your parents knew that ये तो मतलब मेरे बच्चे को ना ये है, ये gift करेगा, तो this is something that he would really like, and he will develop on those qualities.
No, I don't think it was premeditated. I think it was just that their intent was to expose me to as many things as possible. I used to play a lot of cricket. I used to do quizzes. I used to do multiple things. I think it was just an intention to expand my horizons. I don't think it was known that I would be good at computers at that time. It wasn't. But his intent to expand my horizons and let me learn, I think, is where it started. I don't think a lot of things are premeditated in my life, at least, but they happen, God's grace, and well-wishers pushing me and nudging me, I think, is where I have always done whatever I've done.
Absolutely, it's a great way of parenting. I mean, ask your child to explore things, and then whatever he or she feels which is relevant to them, they go for it, and eventually
I'm indebted to them. I'm indebted to them. They've been great parents for us.
Yeah. So at the age of 12, 13, you were doing computer things. Other people were not aware about it. Then you were doing your schooling. You mentioned about the chess part, the quizzing part. So you were doing so many things, but computer became your priority. But other than this, is there any other side of yours where, were you a mischievous student, or were you the smarter one who never got caught but did so many?
No, I mean, I was a very normal student, Rishikesh. I mean, I would do whatever any other normal student would do. Play a lot at school, do decent. There were subjects that I liked. I would do very well in those. There were subjects I wasn't very strong on. I would do average on those. But yeah, nothing special, I would believe. I think I'm just like any other of the millions that are around. And I don't think there's...
Yeah, but that's very fascinating that, keeping this approach very simple in a way that, you keep your horizons wide, as you rightly mentioned.
Yes.
That, if you don't push yourself into something, you just keep one aspect wide, that is the learning aspect. Then eventually you start, harnessing your skills, harnessing your way of working, and eventually you become successful. And then again, you feel that that's not the dead end. You just have to keep learning. That's the only process. So
I completely agree. I think learning is the only thing that keeps us alive and going. And that is something as human beings we should do. I go with the philosophy, Rishikesh, that's very close to me. I look at myself being a conduit. At various points in my time, I have met people who are much better than me. Right? So I am somewhere here. There's somebody here at this point in time I have met. And they have done so many things, whether they have succeeded, failed, whatever, they are much ahead of me. And God has given me that ability to connect with them. And it is my duty to learn from them and grow. And I grow at my pace. But more importantly, at some point I'm here, there's somebody else who's come in contact with me, who's younger than me, much more this thing, but maybe a little lesser in terms of learnings and other things. It's my duty to help them grow. And I believe that as human beings, it is our duty to learn from others and spread that learning to many more people so that they can grow faster than me. The next generation growing faster than me means that I have done my duty here. And I think that's way of being grateful to great people touching my lives
Oh man,
and
that's
helping
a
others.
brilliant, way of putting things together. So you see your life in this line. You see people up there. You see people that they need some assistance. You assist them. You make sure that they grow. And when you see people who are much more talented than you do a simple thing. You learn from them.
Learn from them, absolutely.
I mean, this is something you'll have to do something and create an app to make people understand such things. Because right now, if you see nowadays, competition is the only word what parents they do talk about, right? They push their children. I mean, I don't know. There are some, I don't want to call the name of that brand, but they ask people to learn the coding at the age of 2 or 3, and then that point of time, because of the advertising, they feel that, oh, that's possible, that is something that they can do, and they push them. But I think the right idea and right approach should be that the way you kept it open, you keep exploring things along the way, whatever come along way you grab those opportunities, and you went ahead with the flow with that ease. And that is something very rare to find. I mean, it's a good formula. So since coding, since you're into technology, please in future create something that helps. And nowadays, the only thing that works is app. Anything that you talk about. So first question that comes in, that do you have an app for that? I mean, do you have an app for that? And that is something that you will definitely wait for that. Anything crazy, any crazy idea that is there in your mind that given. So just we'll consider that you have all the resources in the world, you have all the budgets in the world, you have everything. Any idea that you would really want to develop upon?
I think I'm doing that at the Airtel Bank. See, when I joined the Airtel Bank, I think the key this thing was that this is an opportunity where we will touch millions of Indians who do not have access to whatever they're supposed to be having from a financial inclusion place, right? I think that's something that really motivated me when I joined here. It is an opportunity where I can touch millions of people who do not have access to ease of banking, ease of digital payments, and financial services. Being able to deliver this on a platform like this, on top of what Airtel has from a distribution perspective, to tens of millions of people is a once in a lifetime opportunity, I believe. And I think we're doing amazingly well there. I think there is one other possible area where I think there is a even larger pull for me, is helping these people in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 who are consuming internet, now getting into digital payments, getting them to do investments. I mean, being able to understand as easily what investments are, and being able to invest maybe a 50 rupee, maybe 100 rupees, maybe whatever else that they have a surplus on, and let that grow. I think that is a dream that I'm very keen on seeing, where a nearby villager, or tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 has a mobile phone, is able to invest their small sachet-sized investments, and over a long period of time, with the law of compounding, see that they are much more prosperous over a period of time. I think that is one definite thing. There are other pet projects. There could be many pet projects that keep coming. I think I am an ideator. I keep thinking about a lot of ideas. As a technology guy, I keep thinking this is possibly some way that we could do better. So ideas are dime a dozen.
Right.
Execution is where there is the necessity to do that, and I think there will be people who will do that. I might also do something, but right now I'm focused on what we're doing at H Bank and this space. I think this is a very interesting time for India, and the possibilities of banking, investments, and all this, taking that to the expanded audience is an amazing place that we can add value to the country.
I mean, Sarath, let me tell you one thing. You have some mechanism, okay? You take all the complexity, you put it into something, and it comes out as a simplicity. So if everybody, like all of us, if we can manage to get that part in our life, be it professional, personal, I mean anything, it will make our life simple, easy, and stress-free.
I think there is, see, nature is always simple, man. And that's how I believe God has created it. We humans unnecessarily make it very complex, but with whatever our motivations are, whatever others. But technically, I mean, that's what how I teach a lot of people about designs too. It is in the industry also, in the technology space, when you're designing a solution, right? What is the most natural way of thinking about it? If you're able to articulate that easily, your solutions turn out to be very loosely coupled, clean, and other stuff. It's not rocket science to design a good system. It is about how can we avoid all those complexities that our mind might put in and keep it as simple as telling it to a 5-year-old, maybe a 10-year-old, right? So I think that simplicity is natural. Just that we human beings
Yeah, I
make
mean, we make sure that we forget that. I mean, we do so many things to make sure that we forget that simplicity and get it into complexity. So that is something we all should work upon. So when we talk about simplicity, the most difficult part of anybody's life, okay, first job interview. So were you the same guy with the simplicity that, could you just take us through of your experience?
Oh, it was. I mean, see, during college, again, like I said, I am a very average guy, right? I joined electrical engineering in Osmania because I felt computer science at that time, although my passion was very niche. And I think my father, me and myself, when we were getting into engineering, we discussed this, and it was his opinion. I think aligned very this thing that electrical is a much more base engineering stream. I got computer science in some college outside the city and other things, but I think it was important for us to look at it as what is a much more baser thing. Engineering is not a place where you should specialize, so I went into electrical. Average guy, we struggled. I mean, there used to be this thing saying that electrical engineering is very difficult because professors tend to be very strict about it. They're very finicky about it. But I think that is also what sort of, what shall we say, sharpened the axe for us, right? I look at engineering as a generic stream where there are a set of problems. It is about articulating those problems well. There are a set of tools that are available, learning how to use those tools, and then constructing a solution with the tools that are available within the constraints to solve the problem. It's like Play-Doh, right? Now, electrical engineering has its set of problems, it has its sets of tools. Now, if you're able to be a good electrical engineer, tomorrow, if computers is what you are doing, again, the problems are there, the tools will be different. I'll have to learn those tools. But how you do engineering is the same. It's the art of creating whatever is the best solution that is possible within the constraints. I think that is how I look at engineering. That's how I looked at electrical. And that's how I think it added a lot of value. Again, here also, I had a bunch of friends. One of them turned out to be the GATE topper. I studied with him at IAC. He was again in computer science. I was in a computer science and electrical engineering department course. We stayed together called Hari Krishna. And it was more that people like these actually helped me during my engineering to actually do better. Otherwise, I was just an average guy. I still got into GATE. I got into IAC. I'm very proud that IAC is my alma mater. It changed my life. But it is these guys who pulled me up. And I think during the interviews also, it was always about, it's not about trying to prove myself, but have a discussion with the interviewer, understand what my strengths are. It's not that I know everything. There are definitely better guys in my college, in my this thing, who have better skills than I do. I have my skills. I know my strengths. And in those strengths, I am one of the best. And I have weaknesses and I have the intent to learn. At least this has been how my parents always put it across to me. And that's how I think I interviewed. And this is again where I call out, right? I was an electrical engineer. I was very interested in joining a company called CMC. It was, I believed that they were doing some very interesting stuff in electrical engineering with computer science. But our college had a context of saying that you have to take the first job. After that, you get a job, you can't take it. And there was some company which came in. I went through the interviews. It was a long day. At the end of the day, they said, we've chosen a few people. Tomorrow morning, we'll come and confirm it. And I think I got enough this thing to say, I might get through this interview. I went back to my parents and said, look, that company is what I want to join, CMC. But this is a job. If I don't take this, tomorrow morning, I tell them I don't want this, I might lose my opportunity to join a job from here. And my parents, I think I respect them so much for this. They said, Sarath, whatever you want to do. If you want to say no, we're going to be okay. Do what you want to do. I went back and said, no. I mean, it was crazy because that was the only job. I did not participate any further in the interview cycles in the campus. Eventually, CMSC did not come to campus. That opportunity was lost, which is crazy. But I think, like I was saying, right, God's grace and my friends' help, we studied for GATE. We got through. IAC came through. There were other universities in the US. There was admissions, but I felt IAC was much better than many of the places I could get through. Joined IAC, amazing time. That's where again, that's where I really learned what pressure can be and why it is important in life. I mean, I don't know if you visited IAC Bangalore. Heaven on earth for me. I joined there in August. Bangalore in 1997 and 1995 was an amazing place. Go there every evening. It rains. It is so cool, amazing place, and great food at IIC hostel. We start college. We're very proud because we're attending sessions from people, the professors, whose books we used to read during engineering. We are seeing them in front of us. It is like some God has written a book, we were following it, and we are now in front of that person. Very, very humbling, very motivating. It's like this. The first week, very good. Second week, very good. Third week, the professor comes in and says, "Hey, there is an assignment you need to submit within a week, 2 weeks." We feel it is a very hectic thing, but we feel okay. One work like this, it will take us a week, but we will get it done. The next professor comes and says, he doesn't care. He says, "Okay, this is the quantum of work that is needed for each one of these is a whole week of work," but they don't care. We struggled so much for that first assignment, and then we realized second time, oh, this is going to come. We know the next assignments are coming next month. But what we realized is, as we were doing this, we became a better team together. We were helping each other learn, and more importantly, it became that we realized our ability to do these hard work was much more higher as we went through. And I think that is the sharpening of axe or sharpening of the coal that IAC did for a lot of us. And I'm humbled. I'm eternally thankful to that college. And it's amazing.
Treat to have those professors. I mean, you rightly mentioned that, the books that written by these great personalities, you're seeing them in person. There is no other feeling that can supersede this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so now my mind is pushing me to ask this question, since you're really good at simplifying things. Nowadays we see that startup generation, the millennials that they talk about, they get into they make innovations, they create apps, and I was reading through the analytics, 96% of the startups, they do not even get the first level of funding. So 4% that we all talk about, we see them on TV commercials, we see them on YouTube, everywhere. But now about this 96%, most of them, nobody talks about them, and nobody knows that what mental stress or the financial stress that they go through. Your message, just one message before we move to the next segment. What do you feel? Just what comes in your mind? Just please help our viewers to understand.
Oh, absolutely, Rishikesh. I mean, in my career, after 4 years of working in corporates, I felt I wasn't learning enough, and I felt I should move on. But one of the key things was I wasn't learning enough. So I said, I'll start my own company. And there were people who guided me and said, Sarath, maybe it's too early for you to start right now. You just have 4 years of experience. I'm a first-time entrepreneur, but I did start off, and it was very, very painful. I mean, me, my partners, we're all first-time this thing. It was very difficult, and there were times after 2-3 years of my earnings, at least as an individual, was something that was less than my first year salary as a newcomer. But over the years, I mean, there were very deep negatives, and there were very good positives too, even in terms of earnings and others. But I think there are a few things that are very important. I think my family was right beside me. I think my wife, Gayatri, she helped me whenever there were these difficult times. And I think that was something that allowed me to sustain. More importantly, these are times, I mean, financially, it might be very difficult a lot of times. Yes, it is. There are a lot of times when we as entrepreneurs think we can do something. It might pan out, it might not pan out. But there is one thing I would like to call out. After my entrepreneurship journey, there is something that I had learned deeply. I mean, if I was working for those 10 years in just some company, I would have grown as a technology leader, maybe whatever, learned engineering better. But I think this 10 years of being an entrepreneur helped me understand what is the business context, and why as an engineer also I have to focus on business context. Second, what does product development mean? About understanding customer needs, about understanding what the customer needs, how they need it, when they need it, and being able to solve a customer problem and make that the primary reason for doing what you're doing. As an entrepreneur, like I said, I'm an ideator. I can create any number of ideas and I will believe that they are great. And that's true for a lot of entrepreneurs. But can we actually align that with customer need? And can we follow a process? And now there are very rigorous processes of product management, right? Understanding, going and doing studies, talking to customers. Very painful, but it is important. And entrepreneurs have to do that. That is something that I learned well. Technology, anyway, I was building for startups, crazy startups who were growing very large, and architecture and other things came out very well. I had a very large failure very early in my career as an entrepreneur. I was like, what the hell did I go wrong with? And then I realized that software development, as it is taught in colleges, the standard SDLC, waterfalls and all, don't work. Hence, I got introduced to agile practices, extreme programming practices and all. I mean, that failure helped me learn so much more. And it is now very internalized with a very small team, with a team which used to be very young. We were able to do things that a large organization, typically, we used to have some customers who had contractors who were doing some projects. They were failing, or they built something. They were really scaling very fast in the internet domain. I mean, some companies used to come to us, they're growing very fast and their architectures are failing. And they would come to us for a re-architecture and other stuff. Now, we used to use agile methods. We used to use agile architectures, and we used to re-architect these. And what is my team? Very young team. But using these helped us do this kind of very amazing stuff. I think that, and program management, right? As a leader, I believe program management is very important. And it is not about directing people or bringing everybody and having a scale in your hands. But as a leader, can I understand what are the blockers that people are having? What is when somebody is going on a project, what are the knots that people are getting caught in? What are the problems that people are having working with each other? Being able to observe those and unknot them. That, I think, is a very important thing for a leader. I think these 5 assets, program management, people management, technology, business, and product, are what make an engineering leader. At least that's how I look at it. And hence, it is a multifaceted thing. I wouldn't have learned this if I was not an entrepreneur.
Right. I mean, I get that wonderful encapsulation of thoughts, and it will definitely going to help our viewers, and it helped me just in the last 10 minutes.
So for the entrepreneurs, right, this thing is, don't bother. Whatever you're doing, be sure that you're adding value to customers. You understand their need, experiment like crazy, fail fast. Don't get caught on to your idea saying, I have the best idea, so I will continue on that, without going to a customer and saying, hey, I think this is your problem. Is it right? Am I solving the right problem?
Right.
If you have customers, revenues come, investments come, so on and so forth. Now the environment is amazing, Rishikesh. I mean, when I was in 2001, 2002, when I was starting up, I did not have so much exposure, and neither was there so much support. But now there's so many angel investments. There are so many mentors, people like me who've done that, who want to help others, many of them available. So now, if as a young guy or young woman, you are not being an entrepreneur, I think you're losing an opportunity. Now, boss, what are you saying, Sarath? It is very painful. I am not wanting to sugarcoat that. Entrepreneurship is extremely painful. But the growth that you will have as an individual, and if it works, wonderful. If it doesn't work, I think now the industries are much more valuing people who have tried being an entrepreneur and want to come back to corporate, because corporates need these kind of cultures. 20 years back, the corporate culture was very different. Management is always about directing and saying, hey, you do these. But now that is not going to work. Right. Management for large organizations understand that. And they want entrepreneurs, they want entrepreneurs who can come up with ideas, understand customers. All these are necessary for any employee in any large organization. Exactly. So if somebody has been an entrepreneur, did not succeed, doesn't matter. You have learned. Right. Go with that learning confidently to any corporate. They will take you without a challenge.
I mean, brilliant insights on that part. So since we talk about customer solutions, we have another expert with us, whose name is Mr. Stephen Sequeira, who's the director of enterprise business Lenovo India. Sarath, Stephen, we've seen digital transformation happening in last 1 year. Okay, in many ways, we've seen the growth accelerated in an exponential speed, and that's what Stephen also mentioned yesterday when we were discussing. So, as a layman, what do I expect from the customer's point of view, be it any app that I use, be it any solutions that I provide, or a laptop I purchase, whatever I do, what do I expect? What's going to happen in 2021? Is it going to be the same 2020 where we see fast growth, or are we going moderate? So who's going to start with that question?
I think
the customer. Yeah, Sarath, go ahead.
My this thing on this is that, see, customers are going to go more digital, more mobile. We will have various kinds of devices that people will be engaging on. But I think there are some basics that have not changed in the past. In the past, this was true. In the future, it is true. The only thing in the future, it's going to be even more accentuated. And that is when I, as a customer, buy something, or I don't even buy, I am using a product that is free. Even then, I expect that the service that I get is top notch. The service that I get is something that I can trust, and something that will keep me secure and solve my problems. And with so much of this thing around customer privacy, the value of data and other things, customers now realize that if you're providing me a service, I will give you something. It doesn't have to be money, but whatever it is, but never break my trust. I think customer trust is the most important thing that companies have to focus on. Customer convenience next. And third and last is your own business value. If you're going to turn that around and say, what is my product? Why am I giving it? Because I want to get a business value, and customer comes later, it is set for failure. You have to turn it around from past mechanisms and put customer first. I think that is extremely critical. The opportunities that customers have with so many people who can offer similar services means that you want to engage the customer and build a trust with the customer. And if you have that, you can sell anything to the customer, you can provide any service to the customer. I don't know if that was what you're expecting, Rishikesh, but I think that's how I look at it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I get that, but I was just waiting for Stephen's reaction on it.
Yeah, of course. I think Sarath is bang on the point, and he comes from a lot of expertise. And I'm telling you, I was glued to what Sarath you were talking on, throughout. And first of all, I picked up a lot of things, and I want to really comment on that. The simplicity, then the whole thing of, I can relate to this, Sarath, a lot to what you spoke earlier, and I want to do that and then maybe cut. I don't know, you Rishikesh will edit it later, because it is so, this I want to talk is about the parenting, the whole thing, and the quiz time, when you said about the quiz time by Siddharth Basu, and I know because it's like 86, 85 Doordarshan is to come, the
Yes.
only channel, and we used to look forward, so all the students. So at that time to have such a kind of parenting, and it's really, parents are so evolved that time, and really great to hear a story. So and learned a lot. Yeah, really inspirational, Sarath. Thanks. So coming to Rishikesh, your question, and sorry for prioritizing what I wanted to really tell, and it was so much I wanted to talk on that. Is when you talk about digital experience, the Rishikesh from the end user as a customer, I think what comes together is everything what Sarath spoke about, and something called the CX, which is the customer experience. The holistic, see, you as an end user or me as an end user are looking for a holistic customer experience. What all comes to that in that is that, of course, the devices, the infrastructure, the bandwidth, the accessibility, and the everything that you experience, a lot of things that you are not aware of, and the applications, the software, and how it is built up, how it is tied to the banks, etc. And all of that, you as a user want to have a seamless experience when you go on to any organization's website or e-commerce site and do a transaction. That's what is important for you, right, as an end user. And that is evolving. It is evolving at a very rapid pace. And I think everybody, all the organizations, everybody is jumping onto the bandwagon to ensure that they give the best of customer experience to the end user. From that point, I think, it will keep continuously evolving. We have a lot of devices which are coming out. And like, for example, AI-enabled devices, secured devices to ensure privacy, to ensure data protection. I think these all issues will have a lot of play on the digital space, and every organization today is ensuring to be present there on the digital space. And as also yesterday we spoke on the same topic, I think it's organization no longer look at as a choice, but they look at as a given, to be there. And the more it evolves, the more criticality and whole thing which is getting tied up there, and those are not present there, and those are not able to give a holistic experience to the digital route will become irrelevant, I feel. So yeah, that's what Rishikesh is my point.
Wonderful. Definitely great talking to you. We'll definitely catch up offline, but great session. I thoroughly enjoyed it. My entire day, I don't feel it's Friday today, I feel it's Monday, and I'm extremely motivated. Most of the things that you touched upon was really helpful. So
thank you, Rishikesh.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, DT team.
Yeah, we'll see you around.
Bye.
Bye-bye.